I always find it really interesting when people tell me that I should read Berserk, because this channel originally started as a Berserk page. Like, literally wearing a Brand of Sacrifice shirt right now. I have made tons of videos about Berserk. My first ever YouTube post was about how this story saved my life. And I stand by that statement. This is still, till this day, the most impactful piece of media that I've ever read. So today I figured I'd make a longer video talking about my entire journey with Berserk, why I picked up the sword to begin with, where I picked it up in my life, how it affected me, and how it's changed my life over the last 3.5 years since I first read it. I picked up Berserk for the first time my sophomore year of college. It was at the very start. I was 18 years old, I was quite an angry individual, I was quite a confused individual, and at this point I just really felt I had no control over my life, and I had a lot of people tell me that I should just read this manga because it was really cool and really fun, and I had wanted to read manga for a while up until this point anyway, so I was like, you know what, let's get it started, I'll try out Berserk. And basically immediately, I knew this story was going to be different than anything else that I have ever read. A lot of people don't like the first arc of Berserk, that being the Black Swordsman arc. I actually think it's really, really good. Does it get debatably retconned by things that happen later in the story? Kind of, depending on the way you look at it, but I still think it's a phenomenal opening arc for Berserk and introducing the character of Guts. And the moment I knew this story was going to really mean something to me is the final panel of the first arc, where after Guts goes on this huge, angry, tearing spree, he begins to cry, and we get this really beautiful panel of him just tearing up. And what I love the most about this story is how it tears down walls that many men specifically will put up in their psyche in order to, protect themselves. It tears these down and challenges the way you think and view yourself and the world as an individual. For example, when you first meet the character of Guts, even though he is very edgy and very rough around the edges, just as a dude that loves swinging heavy swords and cool armor, and Guts is just a badass. His character design is so cool. He's just very typical battle hero, just someone you want to look like. But slowly but surely, because of the way Berserk is designed, you start to realize that even though Guts is physically strong, he is quite a weak individual at this point. And the way Berserk and Kintaro Miura tells you this story is through a few key chapters, but the number one that really breaks this down, and the chapter that changed my life forever, is Cracks in the Blade. And Cracks in the Blade just basically revolves around Guts going back to this person in this house in this cave that started the second half of his journey after Golden Age, and wanting to reunite with Casca and get his sword fixed. And when he gets there, he is confronted by Godo, who is the man who gave him this sword in the first place, and Godo really challenges Guts' entire identity and who he is. So up until this point, it is very easy to think that Guts is a badass, that in many ways he is the hero of this story, and that he's made the hard decisions, because this is a guy who never sleeps, he's out all night, every night, fighting demons constantly, and just tearing through towns to kill demons. So you're very much in this mindset of, oh yeah, Guts is fighting demons, so he's obviously doing the hard thing. But you come to realize that Guts wasn't doing the hard thing. For Guts, fighting and taking the warpath was something he was always doing. The harder path, the righteous path, the truly good path that Guts could have taken would have been staying in that cave with Casca, not giving in to his toxic masculinity, not giving in to this desire for revenge and wrath and hatred. And it is this moment where you as the reader start to question decisions in your own life, and that's what happened to me. When I was reading Cracks in the Blade, I started to reevaluate the way I viewed myself, the way I viewed people I didn't like in my life, the way I viewed revenge and anger and just all these negative thoughts that I was keeping around with me. I was a very arrogant kid. I'm not afraid to say that I was very angry all the time. I didn't have the best childhood, not the worst, but not the best. And this anger and resentment was built up inside of me for years, over a decade. And I thought I had let it go, and I thought I was handling it well through applying this anger towards different areas and trying to be successful in terms of monetary value and school and lifting weights. But I didn't realize that what I was really doing was just stuffing this stuff all down, and then it would explode in times where I didn't want it to, because you could only contain that stuff for so long. But no one had ever told me that just burying your trauma behind things that are ambitious or typically tied together with success is not actually processing it. It's just another way of dealing with your trauma by suppressing it. But after reading Cracks in the Blade, I was forced to take a really hard look at myself and decide, am I making the best decisions for my future? Am I making the best decisions for who I want to be? This was a moment that changed the course of my life forever. After reading Berserk and watching Guts' relationship with Casca flourish and blossom and get torn apart, I took the lessons that Guts was learning and applied them to my own life, and my relationship got better. Not only that, but the story really motivated me to make content. Like I said, Berserk was the first thing I ever made content on because I loved it so much and needed to talk to other people about it. But not only that, in watching someone create something that was so beautiful and so impactful that it truly changed my life, I wanted to do that for other people. And this was the start of my journey with creative writing and starting multiple social medias and trying to reach out to people and trying to connect with people and trying to help other people work through things that I was working through. Berserk and the character of Guts just made me a much more empathetic person than I was before I read the story. And some of you may or may not know this. You probably do if you know about Berserk, but the man who created it died back in 2022. Kentaro Miura passed away, and it was really sad because I wanted to see the ending to my favorite manga, but in the same sense, I was quite content with where the manga left off because it was really poetic in a super unique way. So Guts' whole thing throughout Berserk is that at his core, he is the most human character, and Kentaro Miura made the character of Guts based off of himself. And I find it so poetic that in trying to make the most human character possible in this otherworldly type of universe, Kentaro Miura and the character of Guts kind of just stop. They don't get this happy ending, they don't get this climactic conclusion, they get this bittersweet ending where Griffith never got what he wanted, Guts had a few moments of happiness, the world isn't perfect, but there is a little bit of hope that it will get better. So when Berserk 365 ended with Griffith's tears in the morning dew, I just was very content with how the story ended. I thought it was a beautiful story front to back. Even though I thought it would never get finished, I was just happy I got to read it and happy that it got to change my life. But here's the interesting thing now. Berserk chapters are still being released. Koji Mori, who is Kentaro Miura's best friend, is taking up the mantle of Berserk and releasing chapters like monthly or every other month. We only get a few chapters a month, but we're still getting some. But I don't really talk about these chapters that much, mainly because there's not a lot going on right now that I feel I need to talk about. But more than anything, I just feel everything that I could talk about regarding Berserk is stuff from the past that I've already spoken about, or stuff that has already been spoken about so many times, and I would just want to go back and review it. It wouldn't be like fresh new content. Because as a viewer and as a reader, I think the best thing you can be with a piece of media is content. You know, be very happy that you were there to witness it, be very happy that you read it, be very, very happy that it changed your life in the way that it did, and take the story, you know, this fantasy that you read and apply the lessons to your very real life and move on. So yes, for those of you that have been asking, I have read Berserk. I would highly recommend it. It is one of my favorite stories ever. It has changed my life on a day-to-day level, and I couldn't be happier that I read it. But anyway, thank you all for watching, and I hope to catch you in the next one. Peace.